نعم، ما سؤالك أنت؟
هل المسيح قتل الدجال؟
Her question is, did Jesus, the promised Messiah, kill the Dajjal?
What is the Dajjal? First define that, then we will see whether he killed or not. And again, we must find out whether the killing of the Dajjal is in one stroke, or is it a process, long process of fight against the Dajjal and ultimate victory over him. So, with reference to the answer of these two questions which I have myself raised, I'll answer your question now.
السؤال هو: هل قتل المسيح الإمام المهدي والمسيح الموعود، هل قتل الدجال؟ يجيب أمير المؤمنين على هذا السؤال بأنه يجب أولا أن نعرف من هو الدجال أو ما هو الدجال. ثانيا، هل قتله هذه عملية تتم بضربة واحدة أم هي حرب طويلة الأمد تتم على مراحل وتستغرق زمنا طويلا؟ على هذا الأساس نستطيع الإجابة.
You see, if you take the Dajjal to mean literally, as these ulama of today do, like they understand the word Qiyamah and Sa literally, everything they understand is just literal. Then the meaning will be very, very different. Then the Dajjal would be a very tall person, human being. So tall that his head should rise above the cloud lines. And the clouds sometimes are miles and miles above the surface. So that man must be so tall that in the case of the clouds which are so far removed, deep into the heaven, his head would still jut out of the clouds. And that man, of course, would be very heavy. How could he travel? So for his sake, an extraordinary donkey would be created who would be as huge as a ship and as fast as the trains or aeroplanes or the modern ships, modes of travel. So these ulama who insist on the word Dajjal to apply literally to a human being, they also, of course, consistently with their own thinking, insist that the word donkey should be fulfilled literally, should come true literally to apply to something like donkeys. So if that is the meaning, then neither the Dajjal is born, nor the donkey is born, nor Messiah has come. So the issue is irrelevant, no question. You see? It's as simple as that. First answer this part and then I'll turn to the other meaning.
يقول أمير المؤمنين: لو أننا أخذنا أوصاف الدجال حرفيا كما هي عادة هؤلاء المشايخ الذين يأخذون هذه الأمور حرفيا فنصل إلى مفهوم لا معنى له. بحسب اللغة الحرفية فإن هذا الدجال يكون كائن طويل رأسه ترتفع فوق السحاب، يبلغ طوله بالطبع عدة كيلومترات أو عدة أميال، ومثل هذا الشخص يكون ثقيل الوزن لا يستطيع أن يحرك نفسه، لذلك يكون له دابة حمار كبير طوله كذا ذراعا ضخم الحجم مثل السفينة
بين أذنيه
بين 70 ذراعا فيكون له حمار كبير بهذا الحجم ليتناسب مع وزن وطول هذا الكائن، وهو حمار سريع يجوب به البلاد. إذا كان مثل هذا الكائن هو الذي سوف يأتي فلن يأتي دجال ولن يأتي مسيح، لأن القضية تكون مجرد قول فارغ هراء لا معنى له.
Right. But we understand these prophecies metaphorically, not literally. And as such, we can begin to show you that the process has already started. You see, the Dajjal is in fact applies to a people, a huge people, very powerful people who will be the greatest enemies of Islam. And they have been explained with reference to certain signs which will apply to them as well as to the mode of travels which they will invent and use to conquer the world. Now, number one, Dajjal is mentioned to have one eye. Left eye will be big and bright. It will be able to see deep into the earth. And the right eye will be blind. Tallness means his influence. So when sometimes a single person is shown as a leader, it applies to the whole people. This is the meaning of dreams. This also is the method how we should interpret the great spiritual visions. So from that we understand that Hazrat Muhammad Rasul Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam was shown in that vision not one single person, but a great people, so tall in their stature that they would dominate the whole world and nobody will be able to destroy them physically. And their right eye would be blind. Religious-wise, they will not be able to see. There will be no vision in them as far as religion goes, because they will believe in God having taken unto himself a literal son. This is their blindness. But as far as their worldly insight and sight is concerned, they will achieve great things. They'll see deep underneath the surfaces. You see, all the Arab oil is a witness to this fact. That this was unearthed by them, by the Dajjal. And all the hidden treasures of the world have been mapped now clearly, because they can see underneath through those highly developed instruments, scientific instruments, which they themselves invented. So this is the meaning of the one eye being blind and the other eye being more than sharp, much sharper than the other human eyes. Now this also has been mentioned in Surah Kaf in the end, and that prophecy applicable to the future has got fulfilled in the case of Dajjal. That is why I believe that all that Hazrat Rasul Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, what he said with reference to the Quran, nothing from himself. Surah Kaf in the end tells us, أَفَحَسِبَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَن يَتَّخِذُوا عِبَادِي مِن دُونِي أَوْلِيَاءَ إِنَّا أَعْتَدْنَا جَهَنَّمَ لِلْكَافِرِينَ نُزُلًا الَّذِينَ ضَلَّ سَعْيُهُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَهُمْ يَحْسَبُونَ أَنَّهُمْ يُحْسِنُونَ صُنْعًا. And you know Surah Kaf, according to Hazrat Rasul Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, applies to Christianity. In the beginning, their deviation they took from the right path is mentioned. In the end, what they will reach ultimately, that has been described. So, worldly wise, they will be a great people who will create great things, so great that they would say, "Annahum yuhsinuna sunnah." What better manufacturer can you show than ourselves? This is Dajjal. Because Dajjal is mentioned always with reference to Masihiyat. Al-Masih Dajjal. So this is the end of Masihiyat, which will turn into Dajjal. And this is the meaning of the hadith with reference, with all the hadith with reference to Dajjal, which is supported by the Holy Quran, by the same surah. As Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned with reference to Dajjal itself. You see, when people got afraid of Dajjal and his influence, Rasulullah said, don't worry, read every day before going to sleep, read the first 10 verses and the last 10 verses of Surah Al-Kahf. Now, if they were not related to Dajjal, why should he advise? So they are clearly related to Messiah and in the beginning and Masih Dajjal in the end. Everything is so clear, it falls into step.
يقول أمير المؤمنين أننا إذا نظرنا إلى موضوع الدجال وفهمنا العلامات والأحاديث الواردة بشأنه على سبيل المجاز، فإننا يتبين لنا أن العملية قد بدأت فعلا. يجب أن ننظر إلى هذه الأحاديث ونفهمها كما تفهم الكشوف والرؤى، لأنها أمور مجازية رآها النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وأخبر بها ليس من عند نفسه، وإنما طبقا لما في القرآن ولوحي الله تعالى له. فمثلا فيما يتعلق بالدجال من أنه طويل القامة، الرجل الطويل يرمز إلى القوم الأقوياء ذوي السلطان. وطبعا لأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم حذر من الدجال، فهؤلاء القوم لا بد أن يكونوا أعداء للإسلام. وقد أعطانا بعض العلامات الدالة عليهم من طريقة حياتهم وطرق مواصلاتهم وبعض صفاتهم وأخلاقهم. فمثلا الدجال له أعور العين اليمنى، بينما عينه اليسرى كبيرة بارزة ناتئة. فالعين اليمنى ترمز للبر والخير والأمور الروحانية، فهو لا يرى، هؤلاء القوم لا يرون هذه الأمور الروحانية. أما العين اليسرى فهي كبيرة ناتئة قوية، تدل على أنه شديد البصر، يستطيع أن يرى حتى في الظلام. وهؤلاء القوم استطاعوا أن يرسموا خرائط المعادن والبترول في العالم كله، وهم الذين استخرجوا هذه الأشياء بعينهم هذه الدنيوية. وقد أشار النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إلى أن من يريد أن يتقي فتنة الدجال فليقرأ فواتح الكهف وخواتمها. ففواتح الكهف تشير إلى هؤلاء القوم الذين قالوا اتخذ الله ولدا، وهؤلاء هم النصارى. وخواتم سورة الكهف تشير إلى نهايتهم وماذا سيصل إليه. يقول القرآن: هؤلاء القوم الذين ضل سعيهم في الحياة الدنيا وهم يحسبون أنهم يحسنون صنعا، ستكون لهم إنجازات تكنولوجية كبيرة عظيمة جدا، ولكن هذا كله ضائع يؤدي إلى هلاكهم وخرابهم وضياعهم روحانيا. فمآلهم مآل هؤلاء الذين قالوا اتخذ الله ولدا، مآلهم عن طريق هذا الدجل إلى هذا الضلال وهذا الضياع. فالدجال إذن هي الأمة النصرانية التي تسيطر على العالم منذ القرن الماضي.
Did you say شديد البصر?
This big eye is a character of the animals which see in darkness.
I know, what I mean to say is the Holy Quran speaks of the sharpness of eye as حديد البصر.
نعم. بصرك اليوم حديد.
بصرك اليوم حديد.
نعم.
Yes.
نعم. شديد وحديد، لأن الحديد شديد.
The second thing is about this Dajjal. Now Rasulullah tells us that if you're afraid of Dajjal, read the first 10 and the last 10 verses. And no single person is mentioned there. It's a people. The people are mentioned. It's the people against whom he warns us. So the interpretation is made by him himself. Don't understand Dajjal to mean a single person. They are a people who are mentioned in the first verses and the last verses.
يوضح أمير المؤمنين أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في روايتين أن من أراد أن يتقي فتنة الدجال فليقرأ فواتح الكهف أو 10 آيات من سورة الكهف والعشر الأواخر من سورة الكهف. فكأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وضح وفسر بنفسه من هو هذا الدجال. ليس في هذه الآيات إشارة إلى شخص واحد، وإنما هي إشارة إلى أقوام.
Now about killing of Dajjal. Those people who think that this Dajjal will be killed by sword, they're wrong. Hazrat sallallahu alayhi wa sallam speaks of the latter days when Dajjal will emerge and Jesus will come. And Hazrat Rasul Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has clearly mentioned that when Masih will intend to fight Dajjal, God would tell him, no, do not do it with swords and with weapons. Why? Because Allah will tell him, we have created two great people, very powerful nations. And la yadane li ahadin li qitalihima. And God has not given any human being two hands to fight these two people. So recede under the cover of the mountain. Recede to the shadow or cover of the mountain and pray to Allah. With your prayer, God will melt him ultimately. So this is the meaning of killing of Dajjal as understood by Hazrat Rasul Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself. How can a Maulvi understand better than Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? It's all very clear. And that is what has started. I'll speak of another thing later on, please.
يقول أمير المؤمنين أن الذين يظنون أن الدجال شخص واحد ويقتل بضربة سيف واحدة هؤلاء مخطئون، لأن الدجال ليس شخص وإنما هو قوم ولهم سلطان كبير. وفي الحديث النبوي الشريف فيما يتعلق بالأيام الآخرة عندما يأتي المسيح الموعود والمفروض أنه يقاتل الدجال، يخبره الله تعالى أنه قد خلق قومين أو جماعتين من الناس هما من القوة بحيث لا يستطيع أحد أن يقاتلهم. يقول الحديث لا يدان لأحد بقتالهما، إذن لا يمكن القضاء عليهم بهذا الصنف من القتال، ولكن الله تعالى يوجهه بأن حرز عبادي إلى الطور، أي خذ عبادي وحرزهم إلى الطور، اجعل هذا الجبل يحميهم واحتموا بهذا الجبل. أما قتال الدجال فسيكون بالدعاء، يرغب نبي الله عيسى إلى الله، يدعو إلى الله ويبتهل إليه.
Now, another very interesting thing emerges from this, that Dajjal is not one person. Dajjal is a great people divided into two parts. Two great parts, the bourgeois and the proletariat, the capitalist and the communist. So it is the Christian world which got divided into two parts. Fascinating, how clearly Allah had told everything to Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah that Dajjal will be found in the form of two great powers, but both emerging from Christianity. So the world of Christianity, about 70 some years before, got divided into two parts. And one was proletariats, that is communists. The other was capitalists, that is American bloc and Russian bloc. This was created. So Hazrat Rasul prophesied that without you fighting them literally with your swords, God will listen to your prayers and will begin to melt them, like salt melts into water. It takes some time. And now half of the Dajjal we have already seen melting.
Yes, like ice, without war.
without war, you see. So how true Muhammad Rasulullah was. If we are honest, if we are true, if we pray to Allah, the Dajjal will melt. It has already started melting. Why don't you see?
يوضح أمير المؤمنين ويقول أن الحديث يبين أن الدجال ليس شخصا واحدا وإنما هو قوم كبير عظيم، وأن هذا القوم سوف ينقسم إلى قوتين كبيرتين عظيمتين تسيطران على العالم، وهذا ما حدث. فإن العالم النصراني انقسم إلى الرأسمالية، الدول أو الكتلة الرأسمالية والكتلة الشيوعية، وهما القوتان الكبيرتان. الآن وجدنا أن إحدى القوتين قد ذابت كما يذوب الثلج أو كما ينصهر الشمع، وهذا ما أخبر به الحديث دون قتال ودون سيف.
Now the one thing is left. They may say that the Dajjal has started melting with our prayer, not with the Ahmadis' prayers. You see, anybody can say this. But this is not possible, because no Masih has appeared among them. Masih has appeared among us. So it was the prayer of the Masih, not of the other Muslims which are mentioned. So when they deny Masih, how can this hadith apply to them? And we have already seen it melting. How could it melt without a Masih?
يقول أمير المؤمنين أن بعض الناس قد يدعي أن هذا الشطر أو الجانب من الدجال قد انصهر دون قتال ودون دعوات المسيح، ولكن هذا غير صحيح، فإننا جاءنا المسيح من عندنا وبدعائه انصهر. أما إذا لم يأتي المسيح فكيف يتحقق هذا الحديث؟ كيف ينصهر الدجال دون أن يكون هناك المسيح الذي سوف يرغب إلى الله؟ لقد جاء المسيح عندنا ورغب إلى الله وبدعائه انصهر هذا النصف من الدجال.
Now the reference, the hadith which I mentioned is from Muslim. Kitab al-Fitan, Babu Zikri Dajjal wa Sifatahi. This is also in Abu Dawud. Right? Now the words which I said is Oha Allahu Ta'ala ila Isa inni qad akhrajtu ibadan li la yadane li ahadim bi qitalihim. Qitalihim abi tha shayad in some
fighting with them, to fight with them.
No, but I thought it was qitalihim are two parts, but here it is not mentioned two parts. One.
I remember it is biqitalihim. That's in the old.
Yadan is two, is in tasniya, but the people are in one jama. So I must be corrected. This is why I wanted the real words to come before me, lest I should misquote it because of wrong memory. So I quote this now exactly from this hadith. Is Allah Ta'ala ila Isa inni qad akhrajtu ibadan li la yadani li ahadin bi qitalihim فحرز عبادي إلى الطور ويبعث الله ياجوج وماجوج وهم من كل حدب ينسلون. Here the two people are mentioned. Yajuj, this is why I read. Yajuj wa Majuj. They are the same Dajjal in their political form, in their political might. They are mentioned as Yajuj and Majuj. In general terms, they are Dajjal. So the two, let's say, blocks of Dajjal. One block is mentioned as Yajuj, the other is mentioned as Majuj.
No.
And that is why I said they apply to the Western bloc as capitalist and the Eastern bloc as bourgeois or the communist. Now, they have already done it, haven't they? They conquered the whole world together and separately as well. So that the prophecy has got fulfilled. فَيَمُرُّ أَوَائِلُهُمْ عَلَى بَحِيرَةِ تَبْرِيَّةَ فَيَشْرَبُونَ مَا فِيهَا وَيَمُرُّ آخِرُهُمْ فَيَقُولُونَ لَقَدْ كَانَ بِهَذِهِ مَرَّةً مَعَهَا. Here again, it does not apply literally. If you understand it to mean literally, then how can any people on earth drink the water of the Dead Sea, which is so poisonous, so rich in deadly salts, that it's impossible for anyone to drink that water. No one has ever done it. So Yajuj, Majuj will drink it up means they will dry up the life from these countries, the spiritual life. They'll attack them and they will destroy this. So again, in the end it says, وَيُحْصَرُ النَّبِيُّ اللَّهِ عِيسَى وَأَصْحَابُهُ حَتَّى يَكُونَ رَاسُ الثَّورِ لِأَحَدِهِمْ خَيْرًا مِنْ مِئَةِ دِينَارٍ. This is very interesting. I will not read the whole hadith, but I am just reading a few words to indicate that if this is not Dajjal, where is Dajjal? Why is it not mentioned? If Yajuj Majuj are different, Isa does not seem to know of any other Dajjal than Yajuj Majuj. And it is the fight with Yajuj Majuj which is mentioned in this hadith. So that again refers to Surah Al-Kahf. It is Surah Al-Kahf which speaks of Yajuj Majuj as Dajjal in fact. Because the first and last verses apply only to Christianity and their future development. So all this indicates, in the end, where is the prayer? Tur. Now, what is Tur? What is the mountain? That is the last thing which I'll say, and then I take leave of you. What is a mountain? In fact, the mountain, Tur, is the place where God showed His Jalwa, His, His vision.
Yes.
And Moses could not tolerate it, but it was meant for Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It was meant for Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And that is the Tur which is mentioned. Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and what was revealed to him. Because in another place the Holy Quran makes it clear. لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون. So this is the Quran which Moses wanted. Allah said, no, you cannot tolerate it. Even the mountains cannot, except for the mountain of Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He is the one mountain who will accept it and is capable of carrying it. Hamala al-insan. This is al-insan. So it is to him that the hadith refers and his teachings. Allah would tell him, take shelter in the Quran, in the love of Muhammad Rasulullah Sallam, in the blessing of Muhammad Rasulullah Sallam. And then if you pray, then God will destroy this Dajjal. This is the meaning as we understand. Right?
هناك تصحيح فيما يتعلق بالحديث المذكور في كتاب صحيح مسلم باب الفتن، كتاب الفتن باب ذكر الدجال، أن الله أوحى إلى سيدنا عيسى بأن هناك قوم لا يدان لأحد بقتالهم، ليس بقتالهما، ولكن بعد ذلك في الحديث أشار إلى أن يأجوج ومأجوج من كل حرب ينسلون، وهذا يبين أن هذا الدجال يتكون من شعبين، شعب يأجوج ومأجوج أو قوتين سياسيتين، ويأجوج ومأجوج من أج النار ومج النار، معنى أن فيهما قوة وشدة عظيمة. وهذا ما حدث، أنهم انتشروا في العالم وسيطروا على الجناحين الشرقي والغربي، الكتلة الرأسمالية والكتلة الشيوعية. بعد ذلك يوجه الله أن حرز عبادي إلى الطور، أي اجعل عبادي في مأمن وفي حرز عند الطور. ما هو الطور؟ يشرح سيدنا أمير المؤمنين الطور بأنه الجبل، وأن الجبل هذا الطور الذي تجلى فيه الله تعالى على سيدنا موسى.
Just a minute. I mentioned as بحر الميت.
نعم، it is طبرية.
That's طبرية. It's different. Yes. Yes.
الطور هو ذلك الجبل الذي تجلى فيه الله تعالى على سيدنا موسى، وخر موسى صعقة ولم يتحمل هذا التجلي. هذا التجلي يشير إلى الرسالة الإسلامية والقرآن الكريم الذي يشير إلى أنه لا تتحمله الجبال. لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله، ولكن الجبل الذي يتحمل هذا الكتاب هو الجبل المحمدي، النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. فحرز عبادي إلى الطور، أي اجعل عبادي متحصنين بالرسالة التي جاء بها محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، بسنته، بأخلاقه، بعبادته. هذا هو الذي يحميكم من الدجال. وهناك أيضا تصحيح في
correction. I'll say in English.
تفضل.
I mentioned as بحر الميت or mate. How do you call it? بحر الميت. It is بحر التبريد. Which is different from al-Bahr al-Mayyid. This should be made clear. I made a mistake and I have been rightly corrected by our friend.
من علامات هذا الدجال أن قواته تمر على بحيرة طبرية فيشرب منها أوائلهم، فإذا جاء الآخرون لم يجدوا فيها ماء وقالوا كان هنا ماء. يبين أمير المؤمنين أن هذا أيضا ليس خبرا حرفيا، لأنه لا يستطيع قوم من الأقوام أن يشربوا بحيرة بحيرة كاملة مهما كان عددهم، وإنما هذا هو إشارة إلى أن هذه الأقوام تستنزف وتستغل ثروات وإمكانيات البلاد التي تستولي عليها.
So Bharat Tabriya is still there. There is water in that, isn't it? Yeah. While the Yajuj Majuj have done their work and they have started melting already. So this means that it is not literal. It should not be understood literally. It has to be understood by meaning. One meaning could be, they will be so big, so numerous, that they could literally drink up all the water. And this is true. This is true, but it is only a metaphorical meaning. You see, the metaphorical meaning, metaphorical meaning is one which I mentioned before, that they will destroy the life force source of all these people. That is the meaning.
Number two, they will take all these forces.
Yes. The second, if you must consider it literally, it is only a matter of possibilities which is discussed, to indicate their being so numerous, that they would be so numerous, these Dajjals, that they would be capable, if all put all together, they could drink the water. That can be the only literal meaning which is acceptable. Otherwise, because it has not happened, while we know Yajuj Majuj have appeared, they have already conquered, they have started melting. So, in the end, I must emphasize that the literal meaning is not mentioned at all. It has to be metaphorical. Translate this last bit and that's enough, okay?
يؤكد أمير المؤمنين أن كلمة بحيرة طبرية لا تعني حرفيا البحيرة، وإنما تعني من الناحية المجازية أن هؤلاء الأقوام من الكثرة ومن القوة بحيث يستطيعون شرب مياه بحيرة. This we say in our country, we are very big and we can drink the river.
Right. You see, this is an Arabic style of saying, expressing.
Yeah.
This is what you say. But I say this is literal, still literal. But I prefer the metaphorical meaning. Because water is life source. They will deprive them of their life sources.
فبحيرة طبرية هي من المياه العذبة وتتوقف عليها حياة الناس، فشربهم لهذه المياه معناها أنهم يسحبون أسباب الحياة من الشعوب التي يحتلونها.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Inshallah, next time.
Inshallah. أبقاكم الله.
Will you be here? Achha. But you can leave some questions behind. On your behalf, somebody will do it. It's very pleasant meeting with you all. Thank you very much.
Barakallah.
Inshallah, we will make it a permanent feature now.
Inshallah.
Every week, inshallah, we'll get together. And the translation of Ilmi Ashraf is so beautiful. Eh?
Thank you, sir.
I'm deeply satisfied. All other translations are small. Okay, sorry.